Right. Can externalize your stuff out onto the horses and into the pasture. And
Yeah.
then it gives people a different perspective and what may be happening with their life and what they're working on. So when they see the characters play out of their story, um, and then it doesn't necessarily happen the way it's been happening, right? The story shifts or changes, and they see it outside of them, outside of their head, and out there in the pasture. So we always talk about what's happening out there. And then when the story changes and the story shifts, the client has a whole shift in their perspective, and that, oh, well, maybe that isn't my story. Maybe my story can be, X, Y, and Z.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm excited. Our Masterclass series continues here tonight. This is a really fun one, actually. So I hope that you all brought your pets or that you can go grab them because we're going to get to do something really cool. This is like the first time cats are allowed in the Zoom room. Uh, what's the first rule of Zoom? You always duct tape your cat to the wall, as they say. So we're not doing that today. They get to hang out on our laps and hang out with us today. So we all know that we need to reduce stress. We want to reduce the stress in our minds and our bodies. Stress is frustrating, exhausting, and it's harmful to our health. We know that we need to manage stress, and we usually do this in two ways. We either try to eliminate the stressors or avoid them. We try to take vacations from work, or we climb over the laundry pile and so that we can binge watch Netflix on the couch. You might have even tried to take a more active approach to reducing your stress by trying things like meditation or yoga or going to the gym. But sometimes these things can be hard for someone who's experienced trauma. Finding extra time in your day can be difficult, or just because of how your brain has been experiencing high stress and high cortisol for a long time, it can feel kind of off to try and do something that's foreign to our minds and our bodies. So the real problem isn't that we have to control the stress outside of our bodies. The real problem is that we're trying methods that our survivor brains and our nervous systems really just aren't used to. So the truth is, cannot eliminate stress completely from our lives. We have work and laundry and family obligations and traffic and construction noise outside of your office. And we have bosses and annoying neighbors and kids, and we can't eliminate these things from our life. But we can train our nervous system to come back faster, which in turn turns down the stress response in our body and allows us to tolerate more without feeling stressed. Now, the super cool part about this is that your furry friends have a secret that can help us do exactly this. So, here today to help us connect more deeply with our animals is Lindsay Drouillard. Lindsay is a registered nurse and she's a certified equine specialist. And I don't know if you know this, but Lindsay can share a little bit more with us about this. But horses are very good at tuning into their own nervous systems. And Lindsay's going to share some secrets of this that translates to our cats and dogs and maybe even gerbils and other pets. So, Lindsay, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, RC. Thanks. I'm so honored and excited to be here tonight. Yes, tonight we're going to talk about de-stressing and connecting with our pet and animal partners. Because as survivors, we live in this hypervigilant state so much of our time, or, some people have symptoms of being low and depressed, and need to be upregulated. So what we're going to learn today is some really easy techniques that we can do at home to learn more self-regulation. So what is dysregulation and what is self-regulation, right? Being regulated is this space where we are able to be calm, we can learn, we can communicate effectively, we can spend time planning for the future. And this is a space where our heart rate is in a normal rate and our respiratory rate is a calm fashion, right? So being in that regulated state allows us to do so many things that being dysregulated doesn't allow. And what is dysregulation? Dysregulation is when we are elevated or high with agitation, irritation. We are angry. And I'm going to share a slide now to show us a little bit more about these different windows of tolerance. So what we want to do with self-regulation is to really open up our window of tolerance to calm our nervous system from being agitated. And you're welcome to pop in the comments any you know, feelings that you noticed from yourself or other people of what dysregulated might feel like to you. Being low or shut down, sometimes the freeze response is a low dysregulated feeling, right? We're not able to respond or answer questions that we would typically know the answer to because we're feeling activated or triggered. So in that window of tolerance, we are able to, if we can open it up and grow it, we'll have more time for the day to do our work, to study for the test, and to communicate and spend time with our partners and have healthy relationships. Being easily angered, exhausted, forgetful, those are all signs of being dysregulated, right? And when we're in the regulated state, our bodies are able to rest, digest, we have less gut issues, and we're able to sleep. Sometimes being activated doesn't allow us to even have any rest, right? So why animals? Why animal partners? Having this feeling of agitation and anxiousness, it's really hard sometimes to figure out how to get back into a healthy space by ourselves. Pet partners and animals are really, really great at living in the moment. They may be aggravated or irritated, but they go right back down, usually, to being calm, eating, being playful, or just taking a nap, right? Animals, they have so many health benefits of pet ownership. You can decrease your rate of heart disease and stroke, lowers your chances of diabetes. Having a pet or animal relationship gets you outside, it increases your exercise, and it gives people a sense of purpose in their lives. Having a domesticated animal in your home, you have to get up and take care of them each and every day. There's no days off when you have an animal that needs to be cared for. Your dog may wake you up in the morning and, lick your face, right? Because they want to go outside and they need to get out. Owning a pet will increase your happiness hormones of oxytocin, and they will also decrease your cortisol and the stress hormones. Having a pet, an animal partner, allows you to have a life with meaning without having any real demands that people may place on your life. And again, falling back on that daily routine and working with your animal to take care of them, there's a synergy there where your pet partner needs to be taken care of, and they are also taking care of you at the same time. A huge health problem in America right now is the feeling of being lonely. Loneliness and social isolation is really causing sadness and depression. And even if people don't live alone, or they have other people in the home, they still may feel socially isolated, which is a huge cause of health disparities. It increases your risk of a heart attack, depression, anxiety. So having a pet partner can really help you get out in the world and help with this loneliness and social isolation. Clients who have Alzheimer's, who have been in a home and have animals, therapy dogs who live with them, they do better with an animal living in the home. So they will have less symptoms of agitation. And people living in substance and recovery programs, a therapy dog decreases their need for analgesics or pain medication. All right, so moving on to some of our co-regulation techniques. So what we can do with our pet partners, if you have one now, or your stuffed animal, or anything that you want to pretend with, is fine too. I did not bring a horse. I was going to, but it's about 18 degrees in Michigan right now, or less. So I didn't think I would be very effective with my talk, doing it with a horse, but. So we can start off with our first step is just observing our pet. In this practice, you can get grounded, put your feet on the floor or in a comfortable seated position, or any position is fine too. And just observe what your pet is doing. Are they Are they calm? Are they peaceful? You can try to interpret what's happening with them. Aw, who's that, RC? Are they playful? Are they, breathing fast? Are they breathing slow? Try to interpret, what they're thinking about. And this can really allow us to be grounded, can help us to find mindfulness, and helping allow us to get into our bodies. We can be in the moment with our pet, and everyone is smiling who has their pet with them. They bring us joy and happy chemicals. Think about what they're doing or what's happening for them. So now I'm going to share a little video of an observation. So we're just observing what's happening. Everyone comes to life and to the practice of life with their own story and their own background. So just take a chance to watch what's happening and see what your observations are. Does anyone have any comments or ideas of what was going on out there?
He reminded me of when I used to take my dog to the dog park and he would just find the nearest mud puddle and just roll in it. And it was like the joy of his life. Right. And like that's what it looked like to me. It was just like, I'm happy. Like, oh, I get to go out and roll in the dirt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this particular day, we had just finished a session with a therapy client, and that's what he did. So some people might come to that observation and think, oh my gosh, the horse is dying. He's laying down. Horses don't lay down. He's sick or dying. Other people may observe that he's itchy and buggy, and the animal, the critters are bothering him, and he's trying to get them, trying to get the bugs off. It's definitely a grounding technique for animal. They like to get into the dirt. The Mycobacteria vacci, they are always in the dirt. They don't like to stay clean. And he was also probably grounding and shaking off what he had just gone through in the last session. So yeah. All of those things are accurate. He wasn't dying, he was fine. But some, people come to, they come to the work and the equine-assisted therapy with their own story, and there's no wrong answers because we all have our own background and what's happened to us, and that's what it is. It is what it is, right? Our perceptions and observations are ours. So the next activity that we can co-regulate with our pets is to do some breath work. So you can utilize your sense of touch if you need to, or use your eyes to watch and to see what's happening with your pet, and try to match your breathing to their breathing. You may place a hand on their chest. And if they're a very large animal, they may breathe a lot slower than you would breathe. With a horse, you can put your hand behind their shoulder, their elbow, under the middle of their belly, or on their chest. And with a cat or a dog, probably can just watch them breathe, or put your hand on the side of their belly. And try to match your breath to their breath. And if you place your hands on your pet or your animal, you can also practice the square breathing technique, where you breathe 4 breaths or 4 seconds in, hold for 4, and then breathe out for 4 seconds and hold your breath for 4. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. And this is a great grounding technique. You can also, with this breath work, do some yoga poses. If you're, comfortable, or you have a quick video you can pop on, you might notice that your pet will want to be right underneath you, or, lay down next to you, climb on you. A lot of people do yoga with puppies or goats. This is a really fun activity to do, and you can do it at home with your own pet. I really enjoy doing yoga nidra, which is a guided yoga, more of a stretching pose. And you can try these techniques for 15 minutes or so to get started. And if you are able to meditate, it doesn't work for everyone as a self-regulating activity. And it may come later on after you're having more practice, but meditation, if you have your pet on your lap or nearby, if you are able to place your hands in your lap and your feet on the floor, and slow your breathing and your mind with a guided meditation, you may find your animal that just comes right to you and climbs all over you and wants to be part of it 100%. All right, and moving on, our next activity is touch. When we're working with animals, it's so powerful because we can utilize all of our senses. So when we have our pet or animal close to us, we can pet them, which may seem silly, but it can be very therapeutic to just have that rhythmic pattern of petting. You can take the time to notice this texture and the sensation of their fur, and really be mindful and grounded while you decide if their skin and their hair is soft or coarse. How does it feel? Does it feel warm? Does it feel moist? Is it coarse? Is it rough? Is their hair tangly? Really taking the time to slow down your breathing and do that rhythmic pattern of touching. Another way to connect is with a gentle massage. Gently work your way down the animal's body. This is a quick video of a equine massage. I'm not a massage therapist, but you can use your hands to gently squeeze and massage. While you're doing these activities, you can look at your pet. How are they responding? Can you see that are they relaxed? Are they agitated? Are they feeling, are they enjoying it? If they are, that's great. And you can be mindful of how you're interacting with them to make sure that the relationship, they're co-regulating with you, right? That they're relaxed and calm along with what you're doing. Some people like to take their animals and have them to a professional massage. And the next area that we can work with our pets and help them teach us how to regulate is by taking them for a walk. It's recommended that we walk ourselves at least 2 to 5 miles every day. Again, this activity it's free. Just need a pair of shoes. And of course, with all of these interactions and activities, I would encourage you to listen to your body and listen to what your needs are and make sure that you're, staying within the parameters that are safe and healthy for you. But this can be an upregulating activity if you're feeling really down and tired or exhausted, and you need to increase your heart rate and up your mobility. You can take a brisk walk. It can also be a down-regulating activity to get you back into that window of tolerance if you're feeling very agitated or irritated. If you're wanting to get a lot of cardiovascular, you can walk really briskly with your pet, and you can walk it fast like you're late for a meeting, and that's where you're really going to get your heart rate up along with your pet and get that cardiovascular, all the benefits of decreasing your blood pressure, decreasing your risk for heart disease and stroke. Being out in the environment with your pet is another powerful tool with grounding. And what grounding is the electrical current that goes through us, that we let off a small electrical charge, an electromagnetic field. The ability to ground is where that electromagnetic energy is released into the ground. So it's encouraged for people to walk without shoes because that gives a better connection. In the States, we don't typically walk around a lot without socks and shoes, but in other countries, it's quite the norm. Being in a wet ground or wet outdoor grass is a great way to do some grounding activity. This allows the cells in our bodies to realign and work more effectively. And it's very helpful for our animals too. They enjoy the activity, it's good for their heart health, and we can pace ourselves with them. When our bodies and our cells are having that constant realignment, it allows our cells to work more effectively and efficiently. They're able to pump out and work pumping out all of the inflammation and help us to decrease our stress, and along with all the inflammation that happens. We're able to connect with the dirt and get in some of that mycobacterium vacui. And that is the healthy bacteria from the dirt it's very helpful antibacterial. Being out in the environment allows us to absorb the oxygen therapy from trees. We can also get negative ions from the environment. This is the science behind forest bathing and being outside and silvotherapy. The negative ions that we are exposed to are healthy and are beneficial, and can also be beneficial for our pets. They come from the trees and the environment, and the highest rate of negative ions we can get are at waterfalls in your moving water. So another way, that's probably why we as humans are so drawn to water and drawn to these, fast moving things. A walk can also be downregulating and calming for us to be more in that, get back into that window of tolerance by taking in a meditative walk where we are taking our time, letting our pets sniff at every stop and every corner of the street, where we can take our time to look at the environment, to take in what's happening with the trees and the colors, listening and utilizing all of our senses to listen to the birds chirping and to watch the wild animals and what's happening with them. So the last co-regulating activity that I have for you is dancing and play. This is an upregulating activity, and this is an activity that you can do again for free in your house. You can turn on a little bit of music and get the music going and start dancing, get some exercise, and I'm sure your animal will respond. They may love it. They may think you're weird, but right, they don't really talk, so who cares? This is going to increase your heart rate and your respiratory rate, increase your happiness hormones, your oxytocin and serotonin, while decreasing that inflammation again. You can play with your pet. You can take them outside. You can play tag with your dog, get them running around, and you can chase them. They can chase you back. You could take your animal to the dog park, where you have another chance to have some social interactions with other adults or other people, which is another way of connecting in the world. And then your dog gets some social time as well. And these exercises can help you to be more connected with your pet partner, your animal, and have some fun. So one of the clients that we have had, she was having so much fun with walking and moving one of the horses, and going up and down a hill. She just thought this was the best thing ever. And then she recognized later that she was having a little bit of shortness of breath and a little bit of dizziness from this activity. So her work with the horses allowed her to be so much more self-aware of her own health needs. She figured out after a couple appointments that she had sleep apnea. So, having this connection with our pet partners and animals, um, it allows us to connect with ourselves and to recognize what our needs are, to be more self-aware. And once we are able to be connected with our animals and other creatures, it allows us to be more connected to ourselves. And we find out what our needs are, what can help us, what's beneficial, and then be more mindful and into our own bodies. So, just to review a few of the things that we've talked about today. Um, we've talked about just spending some time in observation, having mindfulness with our pet partners. We've talked about doing meditation or yoga nidra with our animals, calming and relaxing techniques. We talked about brushing or petting our pets, massaging them, and walking, and then also play or dancing. And I would recommend starting with walking. Walking, a brisk walk or gentle walk, 10 minutes a day is a great place to start with your co-regulation techniques.
Love this. So there were a couple things that kind of came up, and the chat has been, I mean, this is probably one of our most chatty groups. I'm watching people smiling. I'm watching a very very ham of a cat over here on on Aurora's screen. He's loving it. And I think you touched on a lot of really interesting points. Like, I think we all know that, we wouldn't give up our animals. We love them. We know that they bring value into our lives and joy into our life. But I really think this is a very interesting couple of points that you made that I like to chat a little bit about. Is you talked about how just even observing their breathing or their activity, whether they're rolling in the dirt, whether they're what their energy level is, and how it allows us to recognize and connect with our own.
Mhm.
In a
Mhm.
lot of the work that I do, we tap into something called mirror neurons, and it's a part of our brain that when it sees an activity, it
Mhm.
when it sees someone doing something, as long as we've done that thing before, our brains reignite and refire all those same connections. So even watching an animal ground itself, even if
Mhm.
we aren't actually doing that, our brain is benefiting from watching, even just observing animals doing these things.
Right.
And then if we can participate, we get to amplify that effect. So that was really interesting, to kind of bring that up, that sometimes just watching our pets is enough, and just connecting with
Mhm.
what they're doing is enough to help trigger that response in our body that, okay, we can calm down. They're relaxed, we can be relaxed, right?
Right. And when we observe what the pets or equine activity, we put our own story on what they're doing, right? We'll interpret their behavior from where we come from, which is great because it's more another way to have insight into ourselves. We'll say, "Oh, they're so tired and so crabby because they didn't eat dinner yet."
Yeah. That's true. It's like it
Or
allows
this
us.
one's mad at that one because.
Yeah. No, I think you're right too. It allows us to kind of, it's projection, but like in a good way. It kind of helps us explore whatever it is that we're experiencing in the moment, in a, like you said, they're non-judgmental. They don't talk back. They don't judge us. I mean, some of our animals might judge us. Like, I do get a look from my cat every once in a while. you know. Something else that you brought up that is really interesting, and it didn't have exactly to do with animals, but this is a really cool point that you brought up. You talking about forest bathing and kind of an energy exchange with the environment around us, whether that is animals or nature as a whole. And I know
Mhm.
horses very specifically are super attuned to their environment.
Right.
And you do a lot of work that you do with horses. It is about horses in the environment. It's not just the people with the horses, it's about the horses in these spaces.
Right. We again externalize what's happening with us out onto the horses, but we also observe what's happening with them and what their interactions are. So they may see a deer jump out of the woods and run around and be incredibly frightened or not phased at all, but they may run around and run in circles, and then they immediately will go right back down to eating and resting. So it's always interesting and amazing what will alert them, because they're prey animals. They're very reactive to their environment, and they're so quick to go back to calm and rest and digest. So that they're just a great teacher of how you can react and you can respond when you need to, but you can also go back right back down to resting.
I love this. I mean, we're talking, there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot going on in the chat. Some animals respond really well to their singing. I had a dog. I mean, I have a horrible singing voice, but I would sing to him and immediately he would just lock eyes with me and just like be in tune. And I would just sing to him all day long. I can't sing to save my life, right? But he was just, he loved it. There's something about it that he really like tuned in on. And other people are saying the same things that,
Right.
and the different types of animals that like to go for walks. Someone has said that they have ferrets.
Ferrets.
Yep, I saw that. That was so
Right.
cute.
Some people put
Um,
their pets in a backpack or a carriage if they aren't able to walk or to keep up. So
right. Yeah, my cat loves
older.
to ride in cars. She lays across my shoulders and just rides in the car. She loves it. Like her upbringing, she had a really stressful moment in her life. And I say that we trauma bonded, but while she was overcoming her experience, I was overcoming mine. And I guess there was a little bit of trauma bonding, but we kind of have this sort of special bond that, only she seems to get in me. So it's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And we built
Um,
a relationship and that connection with our critters, that they really do understand us and they really do get us. It's a powerful relationship for
Yeah.
sure.
I want to bring up something that is very, very cool. We've been chit-chatting about it, and it's kind of a little sneak peek. I'm going to share a little something with y'all that Lindsay and I have been chatting about. And so it's going to kind of tease you with something. In probably late spring, we have to kind of wait for weather to break. But Lindsay does this. This is what Lindsay does. She runs Therapy Ranch, right? If you want to talk about that, where you actually bring people in and they get to spend time with the horses. Can you kind of talk about what you guys do?
It's a mental health intervention of equine-assisted psychotherapy. It's a team approach with a mental health therapist, an equine specialist, client, and horses. And we're always outside and we're always with the horses.
So it's about spending time with the horses, and you talked about how sometimes there's observation and there's the story that's made up of what the horses might be doing or who's mad at who or the gossip or so you get to kind of live this you get to kind of live. It's like a soap opera. It's like watching the horses in their own little soap opera.
Right. You can externalize your stuff out onto the horses and into the pasture. And
Yeah.
then it gives people a different perspective and what may be happening with their life and what they're working on. So when they see the characters play out of their story, um, and then it doesn't necessarily happen the way it's been happening, right? The story shifts or changes, and they see it outside of them, outside of their head and out there in the pasture. So we always talk about what's happening out there. And then when the story changes and the story shifts, the client has a whole shift in their perspective, and that, oh, well, maybe that isn't my story. Maybe my story can be X, Y, and Z. So it's very powerful work. And being in the environment and outside, it really breaks down the barriers of, an in-office session with, really direct eye contact. Our focus is much more on the horses and what's happening. And being in the environment just really breaks down all those barriers too. It makes the work go much quicker and much more deeply, utilizing all the senses.
I really do want to keep talking about this. So one of the things we've been chit-chatting about doing is a survivor school summer camp. And we were going to start talking about what this might look like. And this includes doing some equine assisted therapy. You talked a little bit about forest bathing and We've talked about bringing in some of our other experts as well to do some of these other, a lot of the other activities that you're talking about, nervous system regulation, doing somatic tech, like healings and things like that. Can you tell us what retreats kind of look like? I know that there's this sort of
Yeah.
summer camp vibe there.
Yeah. It's an all day, all inclusive time at the farm where we, have sessions and break out. We can do art therapy, sambo healing, the forest bathing, along with the equine assisted work as well. Yes. Private chef,
Yes.
prepare lunch and dinner. There's also a sauna and an is it ice bath?
Ice bath. Yeah, and we talked about too some of the we've been kind of chit-chatting. This is very loose. We're still kind of chit-chatting, but this is a behind the scenes conversation that we've been having. But this would be a really great opportunity for people to come and actually get to experience a lot of these things you're talking about when you're talking about your cat or your dog or your pets that are around you. It happens in your everyday life, but to be able to experience it with such a large animal like a horse that has just an immense energy about them, I think this is a really cool opportunity for people and to immerse themselves in it. And it's kind of why we're calling it like summer camp. I've kind of referred to it a little bit more like glamping than this isn't totally roughing it, right? But it is kind of a fun way to get out and get to experience this and really reset your nervous system in nature
Yes.
and learn a lot of these techniques.
In a beautiful setting. The farm we work out of is at Stillwater Stables and Stays, and it's on Lake Perry on 62 acres of rolling hills, and it's really a beautiful facility.
Ooh, awesome. Well, as we have more information, we're still putting all the pieces together to see if we can get everything working out. But I did want to give an opportunity to kind of mention that and see if anybody was interested. And if that's
Mhm.
the case, we will continue to put the pieces together to make that happen. So I think that would be really, really fun. And you're located uh,
Detroit,
outside of
Michigan.
Detroit. So yeah, Detroit, Michigan. So we have some people that are actually in Montreal that maybe even could make the trek down. It's not too far, I think. I think it'll be a great opportunity for people to get some hands-on, experience
Yeah.
and get to do a bunch of new things that they have never done before. You have some art therapy
Mhm.
personnel, like people that do art therapy there on site as well. So we would sort of be able to get to expand it. It would be definitely a nervous system retreat, a nervous system reset retreat. So I think that would be kind of fun. But it does sound like people are interested. So I think that it would be worthwhile us putting all those pieces together. So what do you
Right.
suggest when and I know you spoke to this a little bit, but what do you suggest when we see our pets in distress?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it seems like a lot
So
of these techniques you talked about might be a two-way street.
definitely a two-way street for sure. I mean, cats, I'm not a specialist in veterinary science or, cats in particular. I don't know if your cats are allowed to go outside or not, but I think, yeah, most cats they're safer indoors, right? But as far as like our equine partners, we watch their behavior and watch their responses. And when they seem that they've had enough, you know, we we give them a break. If we're doing session, we limit how many sessions they can do per day. We try not to do more than one or two in a row to make sure that they have that break, so they can reset and re-regulate themselves. I think animals really like to be outside. And, is it that electromagnetic field where they're grounding themselves? You know, are they drawn to it? I don't know. I think they are. The more time we spend outside, the healthier and happier our pets are typically. Cats are different because they need to stay inside, but I don't know if there's a way to get them outside, maybe some fresh air more, when they're younger years. But grief and chronic illness is part of life. So with relationships and love, we also have death and grief. So it's a two-way street. With the good, we have to work with the bad. I do have a referral or reference for a grief specialist who is specific to the veterinary sciences, and I could share her information along. She may have some better ideas
Yeah.
recognizing their stress points and when they've had enough. If dogs are playing with a little kid and then babies, in their face and rubbing their hair and pulling on them, like recognizing when they have had enough and giving them that opportunity to have a break. And then
Yeah.
of course, always having close contact with your veterinary services that know your pet and know what their needs are.
That's so true. So someone just shared in the chat that they loved breathing with their cat, that he absolutely loved it. And he stretched out and he was
Oh,
so relaxed. And I was watching him and
mhm.
he was the Zoom screen. It was like his own feature. He's totally stretched out. He was loving it. And he looked
Right. And
relaxed.
it's really interesting too to observe their behaviors that show you they're relaxed.
Yeah.
Like a horse, a lot of time will stretch or will yawn. They will release their jaw, several times, and it's a sign of them relaxing, or they'll lick their lips. And your own pet. So a cat, may do that big stretch, right? Or do
Yeah.
kind of a bow. The dogs will do a big bow, and everyone knows their own animal.
And we're getting some more comments too. I think that they are so happy when we give them 100% of fully present quality time. That I completely agree with that. Right? They
Mhm.
self-regulate themselves. They can
Mhm.
recognize when we're stressed, but when we actually take that moment and come to that space with them and make that one-on-one connection for them, I think that watching us relax probably also gives them a sense of like, oh, okay, you're good. Now I can really relax. Like
Right,
it's
that
permission.
synergy, that back and forth.
Yeah.
And during COVID, it was so difficult to ever be relaxed or ever feel settled or calm. So
I think our pets loved it because we were home more often, but they were also feeling all of our uncertainty and stress as well. So I
they
think
do.
awesome. Well, Lindsay, I want to say thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I know that this was just the tip of the iceberg. I know that there is so much more to learn and
Aw,
do. And again, Lindsay, thank you so much.
thank you.
Like very informative and I think a peace of mind for us too, that like we need to take that pause. We have our pets, we would give the world to them. One of the best things we can do for them is to de-stress with them. So I love
Right,
this.
right. It's a gift to them and to ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will get information out about the Survivor School Summer Camp. Keep an eye out in emails. We'll be dropping some information. The more we get, we'll share it as we go. But I do think that everyone would very much benefit and enjoy a weekend out and playing with some horses and getting in contact with nature and doing all kinds of fun stuff. So
Yes.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone.